What's up, man? Yeah, good to see you guys.
Well into camp now, being back around everybody, having that entire spring period to kind of get to know new teammates and new line mates. Where do you guys feel like you were able to start in training camp, and how's it gone early on?
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely a competitive advantage going into this training camp compared to last year with the attendance that we had in the spring. And even if it wasn't really, humming and hitting each other in collisions in the spring, just to get that camaraderie going, build that team identity, as well as, the cohesion that it takes to, up front specifically with working offense and defensive line, running games, timing. Every player is different, and so to get as many combinations as we could early, I think gives us a good leg up here in training camp.
What else you do with the guys you guys drafted in the top two and stars back? How much different will the defense look this year, do you think?
The turnover kind of changes every year. That's the NFL. But I think we look a lot bigger. We got a lot of height. I know that that's a big thing that you guys have picked up on. But obviously we're in the dog days of camp right now, so everyone's just focused on putting your best foot forward at every practice.
Physically, you look different. What did you do this offseason to kind of change the way your body shape is?
Last year I think having to focus so much on the rehab component and getting my lower body right. Kind of took time away. You can only spend so many hours in the gym. You need to allocate time to recovery and sleep and stuff like that. And so this off season, feeling a lot more healthy in my knees, kind of allowed me to get my body in a place that I feel like it can move a little bit better, more explosive, real stout in the run. But as you see, the game's changing. Everyone's got to have a solid pass rush in order to play in this league and affect offenses. So. Really just focused on a lot of power stuff, Olympic-style lifts, get my lower body as strong as I possibly could. I think I put on a couple pounds of muscle, and just trying to give myself the best position to help out this football team.
How many was a couple pounds?
I'm like maybe 4 pounds, 4 pounds heavier, but it's a lot better weight as well. So even though the number's not that big, like body fat percentage down and muscle mass up and stuff like that.
What are you playing at right now, weight-wise?
About 308, 309.
If you look at the numbers, just the amount of players that are here on the defensive line, and guys who can play inside and out, the reality is there's going to be some good players that could potentially get cut that can't fit this roster. Is that present in the defensive line room's minds? I mean, and can it serve as a motivator? Or, do you guys think of that?
Yeah, I think that everyone understands the business and kind of does that counting game, but we're so early on, and there's preseason games left to be played, and you just got to put your best foot forward every day. And when you get the opportunity to turn on at these preseason games, you got to show everyone, not only just this organization, but every other organization too. And so that's kind of the benefit of having those preseason games.
When we talked to Greg the other day, he was telling us how he and Boogie are really comfortable asking each other questions since they're in that same boat. But what do you see those guys asking older guys on the team, or you, just as they're trying to learn everything here?
Yeah, I'd say in the spring it was really remarkable to see their effort to want to learn the playbook and to get better. Always kind of asking, hey, if they see me after practice doing something, they'll ask me, why am I doing that drill, or what's it supposed to work on? And so I think that's one of the most important things you kind of have to have as a young player, is just the drive to want to get better. You're not the big dog on campus anymore. And so I see that in both of them.
Having Star back in the mix, I know you do a lot of different things for this defensive line, but a guy that's been so good at his role for so long, what's that like, having that back every day in the room, just to pick his brain and just watch him work out there?
Yeah, well, number one, having Star back is good because he's a good friend of mine. I like, having my buddies around, and so he's a hell of a guy. And he does some great leadership stuff that, he's not necessarily the hoorah up and leading the group in your face type motivator, but he always is grabbing people one-on-one and kind of leads that way. And I think that's really, really powerful, especially with the younger guys that we have up front after practice. If they had a bad day or a bad play, his leadership to be able to let them know that's part of the process and part of the growth. So it's great to have them around.
You mentioned how early it is in camp. Is that particularly true for the defensive line, in the sense that you're not truly able to tackle to the ground or hit the other quarterback yet until you get to Friday night? So is it for your group in particular, is it a bit early to draw any kind of conclusions?
Yeah, I think so. you hit the nail on the head there. Everyone kind of has that threshold of where they want to pull it back at practice. Is it 2 yards away from the quarterback, 3 yards away from the quarterback, 4? And, in certain players' head, they say, oh, I would have got there if we were live. And maybe coach says, no, you wouldn't have. And so all those kind of questions are taken away once you are able to really go live. Even when we're in the thud period, if me specifically, if I'm looking at a running back as he's running, like a perpendicular collision, I'll never want to thud a running back in that sense because he could fly, hit somebody's knee, that type of thing. Where in a game, you can make it clear that you are making those plays and vice versa.
I missed the first questions, but Obata, when you see a guy like him and his background and coming to the team, what do you think about the way he's gotten to here and to be on your team now?
Yeah, it's really cool to. All across our team, we have guys who've had just incredible stories, but having FA in the room and hearing his process to get here, it's definitely one of the ones that sticks out when you want to write a story about. It's really cool, and he's been very impressive, in the time as a person, as a player that I've known him now.
You think about a guy who didn't have a football background and he's on an NFL team. That's pretty unique.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, and he's like I said, been nothing but impressive to me in every facet of being a professional.
Pretty hot out here. Could you feel it? It looked like it was hitting some guys hard today.
Yeah, I mean, we're blessed to play in Buffalo, so the weather's not terribly a factor in that sense. But it warmed up a little bit today. But again, we're professionals, so I think guys hydrated, got all the things that they needed, and we got to be prepared to play. And I think we play in Florida pretty early this year, or whatever conditions, wherever we're playing. So this is good. We want to have more days like this where it's fully, 2 hours sweating in the heat, to not only just the toughness part of like, hey, we all felt like we had a good training camp practice today, but also to prepare us to win some of those games in the heat this year.
What have been your impressions about the offensive line that you've been going against?
Yeah, they've been doing a great job. I think that our young guys are coming along really well. I've been very impressed with Spencer Brown specifically. He's got some very I don't even know how to describe it. Just some of the things that he does on film, you just kind of like, wow, that's very impressive for a young player to be able to do that. So I'm very optimistic about his future and a lot of the other guys up front. And so we've had some good battles there in the trenches. It's been fun.
One guy in the trenches that doesn't get a lot of hype but goes everywhere and it always seems to be solid is Ryan Bates. How impressed are you always with those kind of battles when you go up against him?
I always think it's unique for sure that like, hey, someday he's coming out and he's lined up at guard the whole day. Sometimes he's at center the whole day. Sometimes he hops in between plays in different series and stuff. So to have that versatility, I'm sure is a big advantage for the offensive line to have.